Thank you, Dana. So I usually try to save this slide for Halloween because it is so horrific when we look at it today. This is where we once were not too long ago. Many of the individual solutions that you see up on the slide here today were a very common way of life for a number of years prior to our millennium change here. Top right, you see the old transit system way of getting on the bus and dropping your coin or your folded dollar bills into that, and you were just thankful that you had a place to put it, to be honest with you. The one that seems to bring back the most horrific memories for me is the device down there, that Motorola device in the lower right-hand corner, the pager. And I can remember having a kind of a moment on the rooftop with a couple of my parking colleagues. My background, it really comes from operations and management, as well as the other two speakers that'll follow me here. But we were having this discussion of, I wonder if we threw this thing off the top of this garage, would it implode or shatter in a million pieces, or would it just mock me and come back up and really smack me back in the face? But enough said on that. I think really it's just amazing that this was how we managed and collected revenues and communicated for a number of years. You'll see the manual individual there with the orange flag. That was kind of the guidance system, the wayfinding system of getting people to a number of the surface parking areas used in event management and so on and so forth. I also had the opportunity to run the City of Tampa's parking system for 10 years from 2005 to 2015. And when I got to the City of Tampa, I remember our slogan was very quickly, let's just get the system out of the 80s and bring it into the 90s. And this was in 2005. So we had things like Casio, the Casio brand cash register there as our method for collecting cash. I mean, a very, very manual, efficient system, but it didn't communicate anything. And at the end of the day, I remember pulling out that little Z tape that came out of the top of that device, and that was how we tried to bring some semblance of how did we do today, and what were our user groups? Did we collect this, and how much of credit card? Well, of course, we didn't even accept credit card at that time. It was all cash and checks. So it's good to see that we've moved on from a lot of this mentality. So of course now today, we've seen the explosion of all sorts of interconnected and integrated solutions. I remember it seemed to me it was about the time, early 2000s, 2005, that the pay by phone or the mobile payment platform was really taking off in the parking industry. And I just remember seeing these folks at conferences going around, and nobody was really around their table because they didn't really quite understand it, you know. And it was this concept of where's this going to go and how does it really work? And you know, I just much rather prefer my single space meter. But of course, as folks wanted to be able to pay by other means beside the U.S. quarter, U.S. currency, the mobile platform just took off. And so now we're starting to see things related to that, interconnected to that, such as the dynamic guidance systems that you see in a number of the parking structures today, telling you where parking spaces are available when you pull into one of these mammoth structures, and then how that is all communicated to what you see more of the dashboard reporting today in the parking space. So it's you know, I think we're all very thankful that this is out there, but you know, one of the big challenges is trying to get all of these kind of proprietary solutions to play in the same space and have everything interconnected and interrelated. And the parking industry has made a tremendous amount of strides in that area, but I think there's still more work to be done as we move forward. And so I've often kind of referred to the Gartner technology hype cycle when parking technology kind of hits the market. And it's pretty just a simple model here, really, where you get a lot of this upfront excitement and hype about this new technology, and it's going to change the world and save us and makes life so much easier. Probably the two that come to mind the most are the this concept that's been out there for a while now, the dynamic pricing, to where based on demand, the price to pay in a particular environment changes over the course of the day, depending on how busy the day is. Well, I can remember when it was all the buzz for municipalities and organizations, campuses to talk about this concept. And so it really hit that whole positive hype up to the peak inflated expectations. Some places were effectively able to introduce it and utilize it, but probably more really in a test market, essentially. And then, of course, all the negative hype about that of why it may or may not have been successful in some markets and what new problems it created. And so it really got down into that trial disillusionment. And now, of course, where we often see is that slope of alightment really is kind of the driver here of, we tend to underestimate, I guess, that as the slide says here in the long run. But I think you'll see this kind of common amongst a lot of the parking technology solutions, because it's so much of it has been, we need something. We need something to make our lives easier. And when that potential solution hits the horizon, there is a lot of buzz and talk about it, as common amongst many technology innovations. So we often get asked the question as the work that we do in the design space and kind of what the future of the off-street parking would look like. And this is a slide that's been used in a couple of presentations over time here recently, of this concept of what's the increased transportation network systems going to do to the parking space, the ride hailing, the Uber, the Lyft. How's that going to impact how we move in and about our parking systems and our parking structures and our destinations? And then, of course, the autonomous vehicle, what's that going to do with the design of off-street parking here? So we've seen things and we've made recommendations of, this idea of creating kind of a parking deck that has a bigger floor-to-ceiling ratio, with this idea that as things continue to change and parking demand that you may see here in the next 20 years may not be the same parking demand that you would see 30 or 40 years down the road. So this idea of being able to convert that usable space that was once parking, flat surface space, back into usable office space or usable recreation space or something to that matter, that does require a non-ramping parking system. And you'll see, obviously, internal ramping, I should say. In this case, the ramping of this model here is to the left, like an express ramp or a speed ramp, if you will, and using those flat floors with that design. But ultimately, too, the other thing that's really been discussed, again, 30, 40 years down the road, is how much space is that automobile really going to require in the parking system? And so many of the design elements that are out there today are talking about more closely, you don't need the 9-foot parking stall that you currently need today for a human being to get in and out of a car, so you can pack more cars in kind of a densely location. But really, I guess then the next big question is, right now we're seeing a lot of this impact in the transportation network companies. And in fact, we've seen a lot of data that the roadways are actually becoming more congested because of the more increased use of this transportation network system. What's that going to look like in the future? Are those cars eventually, as they go from humans driving those transportation network vehicles to being the automated vehicles, those vehicles are going to have to stage and find a space off street, basically, so that they can do their maintenance or their cleaning, their custodial work. There's things like this that are going to need to be addressed with this process. And again, I can't say enough that we're not talking about the next 10 years here. We're talking really more down the stream, like 30 or 40 years down the road. So for some of us in the room, myself included, maybe that's not an issue. But these are the kind of things that we certainly need to be thinking about as we move forward. So with that, I think I'm going to turn it over to my colleagues from SP Plus here, Bob Kamper and Jason Sutton, and let them talk a little bit more about where this space is going.